Hello friends, welcome to the fourth lecture of our corporate valuation. Today we are going to discuss about the relative valuation method. Last lecture we have done about the DCF valuation method, and relative valuation method is something, it's comparison with the other industry or the other companies. So when we look at the DCF valuation method, where we see the lot of calculation, but in case of the relative valuation method, it is just a comparison of one value of a one company, of a one industry with the another company. So the company who wants to do a valuation of that particular company or itself, then that company will compare the valuation of the other similar industry companies. So say for example, if Flipkart wants to value, it will look at the value of the Amazon. Right? If Snapdeal wants to value, then it will look at the valuation of the Flipkart, and so on. So let us look at the slides first, theory first, and then if the time permits, we'll look at the practical concept. All right, friends. So let us look at the relative valuation. But I've just given the picture that you can compare with related companies only, and not the unrelated companies. So whenever you compare for the valuation purpose, the relative measurement is necessary. So for example, you cannot compare a steel industry with the pharmaceutical industry, or any ball pen industry with the oil industry. So you should have the same industry and more or less similar turnover companies. So for example, you cannot compare 1,000 crore company with the 10 crore company. It should be relative. 1,000 crore company you can compare with the 100 crore company, but not beyond that. So let us look at the theory first. Relative valuation method. Now this is the basic principle is similar assets should sell at a similar price. Just give me 1 second, I'll just change the color. And at the similar price. So analyze the company. Following the process of relative valuation is analyze the company to be valued with reference to business model, product profile, cost of inputs, trends in turnover, liquidity basis, leverages, margin, ROI, technological and production capabilities. Select comparable companies. So as I discussed, that we need to select the comparable companies. So if it is comparable, then only we can select. Select the valuation multiples. So there are various multiples which we need to understand. Determine the valuation multiples for comparable companies. So we need to determine the valuation multiple for the comparable company. After we'll look at this particular step. Using the valuation multiples of comparable companies, value the company. Then after using the valuation multiples, there can be 1, there can be 2, there can be 4, there can be a range of value also. You may get an answer that you can value of a company from 10 crore to 100 crore. Then in that case, we need to follow the particular process for how to value the same. Valuation of asset is compared to the value assessed by the market for similar comparable assets. So as I discussed, you cannot compare with the oil and the ball pen industry. Most valuation in the market are done using the relative valuation method. This method is preferred as it arrives at the value as on date of the transaction, reflecting the market positioning of the industry and the peers at that point of time. I repeat this sentence. This method is preferred as it arrives at the value on the date of the transaction, reflecting the market positioning of the industry. So what is the market position of the industry of that particular company, and accordingly you will value the particular company. The relative valuation can be done using latest financials and do not require much information and assumption. The way we have taken the assumption in DCF valuation method, right? Here we used to have 2-stage model and 3-stage model and so on. So key financial metrics are, first is P multiples. So this is a one relative valuation method. It is easy to apply, available in the market. It is net profit linked, but sometimes these multiples is prone to the adjustment because P ratio is equal to MPS upon EPS. So EPS can be changed, right? So you will get the P multiples different. EV upon EBITDA, best multiple to apply. Most of the companies follow this. It consider only operating profit. So not prone to the accounting adjustment much, I would say. EV upon sales, simplest to apply. Even when at losses, you can compare the company. This is mostly used to value the e-commerce and media company because sometimes they are startup companies and all. So they have the sales, but not the profit or not the EBITDA. Price versus book value, not much relevant because it shows the book value. So it means historical method. So this we will not follow. I'll give some example. Hospital is mostly following the EV upon room. Then mutual fund is AMC. Then oil is EV upon barrel. Print media is EV upon subscribers. Power is EV upon megawatt. Entertainment and media is EV upon per person. Metals is EV upon metric ton, and so on. Airline is EV upon plane or EV upon passenger. So as I said, to use multiples, we must ensure that both the denominator and numerator represent the same group, means same industry. P, book value, sales multiples, result, equity value. EBIT, EBITDA, EBITDA, EV upon sales multiples, and results in enterprise value. Ensure that the firm are comparable, that I have already discussed. Business model, profile, product, geography, size, industry margin, etc. plays a crucial role. As I discussed, you cannot compare oil company with the ball pen company or paper company. Wrong multiples can give you a wrong figure straight away. And you don't have any check also, because sometimes what happens is the wrong multiples give you some value and you will say that this is my value, but that is not possible. So let us go one by one. Price earning multiple, MPS upon EPS, market price per share upon EPS. The market price is current market price as per the stock market, and EPS may be a trailing EPS, or trailing EPS means based on the previous financial year, and forward EPS means based on the expected for the current year or for the following year. So there can be two values. If you can see, this is my EPS for the past year, so you have another value. This is my expected EPS for the next year, so you have another value. Another is price upon book value, so market price per share upon book value per share, then market price per share upon revenue per share. So critical evaluation, if you look at P, PB and PS multiple, if you look at these three multiples and compare, earning power is major driver of investment. P is just very popular metric. So mostly people are using P multiple. However, earning may have non-recurring exceptional components which has to be adjusted. So for example, non-operating income or non-operating expenses or some amortization of goodwill like that. So that you have to reduce. Then we have reported earning may be managed, distorted, manipulated one. So as I said, EPS have a denominator of EPS can be manipulated, earning per share, that we can control. Even if EPS is negative, book value is generally positive and more stable. But significant driver of the value like human capital, technology, brand, and are not captured in the balance sheet. So these are not captured in the balance sheet. So that we will not have the valuation. So while we calculate the relative valuation, these things are not taken into consideration. Whatever in the books are there is there. So sales are prone to the distortions and manipulations sometimes, but now it is not because of GST and all. Even if earning and book value can be negative, sales are always positive. So people are also following the sales value multiple. Now you come to PEG ratio. PEG ratio is more crucial than the P multiples. The ratio is P to growth multiple. So P upon annual EPS growth. So what is that the company or the industry is growing annually in EPS? So that is what we call the PEG ratio. PEG is being increasingly used by financial analysts to discover overvalued or undervalued stock. That you will understand from the market that this is overvalued stock or the undervalued stock. PEG ratio relates the P to future growth in EPS. So as of now, what is my P and what is the future growth in EPS? That is they relate. So if the P multiple is equal to growth rate in EPS, same. If my P is 2 and my growth rate is also 2, then PEG ratio is 1, 2 by 2. It means that share is fairly priced in the market. If my PEG ratio is less than 1, that the market is discounting the prospect of future growth. So it is undervalued stock. So you can invest as of now. If PEG is more than 1, which indicates that future growth is factored at a premium. So it is already overvalued. Please don't invest into the shares. This is what the PEG ratio, which is PE divided by annual growth in EPS. Now we come to enterprise valuation method. So these are the valuation method where we find out the enterprise value. There also we find out the firm value. EV upon EBITDA multiple, so enterprise value upon earning before interest, depreciation and amortization. EV upon EBIT, earning before interest and tax. EV upon FCFF, this is also a very good method. EV upon sales multiple, then EV upon book value. This is not used majorly. So this is what we use. EV is equal to enterprise value is equal to market value of equity plus market value of interest bearing debt. So preference shares is out. So how to select the multiples? So P multiples, the companies with the positive earning and insignificant non-cash expenses. They do not have the significant non-cash. So depreciation ज़्यादा रहेगा तो this P multiple is not good. P multiple, PB multiple, companies whose balance figures of assets reasonable reflect in the market price. So the assets should reflect, the major assets should reflect in the market price generation. So you can find out this for what? Captive company, where you have the capital intensive industry. Right? You have EBITDA, companies with substantial non-cash expenses, where we go there, because here we rule out the depreciation in the EBITDA. FCFF, where the companies with the stable growth and predictable capex can follow this, and companies without the positive earning, if any company has a negative PBT, then they won't get the value, so they will follow the sales. Why it is so popular? Because as I said, there is no much calculation, then you don't have to project so many years and terminal value, then discounting factor, nothing is there, so it is very popular. So for income tax purpose and the ROC purpose, you have to follow the DCF valuation method. So people check with the relative valuation method and accordingly find out what will be the projections they would do if they require this particular valuation as per the relative valuation method. Weaknesses, as we discussed, that are not explicitly defined. You just have to follow the what other company follows or the industry follows, or what is your multiples, and you can also change your multiples. So multiple used in the relative valuation approach reflect the valuation error also. Sometimes overvaluation, sometimes undervaluation of the market. Multiples are selected based on the data available, and sometimes an average is being taken. Suppose you don't have the data available. So industry, in particular industry, you have A, B, and C companies. So you take the average of this for the comparison. So it will not give you a right valuation. So friends, this is all for today for relative valuation method, and we will come up with the what we say practicals of relative valuation method, maybe in the coming lectures, where we will take DCF also as well as the relative valuation method also, so which will give us the basic fundamental to understand why people are following the relative valuation method, and then how they compare with the DCF technology. Thank you very much, friends, and stay tuned to my video for further videos on the corporate valuation method. Thank you very much.